Crucial win for Manchester City away from home in the Champions League. Final score at the Santiago Bernabeu, Real Madrid 1, Manchester City 2. And Man City win at the Bernabeu for the first time since February 2020, if I'm not wrong. And since then, this fixture has actually given us some good games and it's somewhat become of a blockbuster fixture. Like, there's been some very interesting games, but like I said, Manchester City have won away from home against Real Madrid. And they've done well because the loss against Leverkusen at home in the Champions League has hurt them. And it was a really unexpected win, even for myself. As a neutral fan watching this, I was like, whoa, Leverkusen going away to the Etihad and beating Manchester City. That was strange to see. And I think for Manchester City, that was a disappointing one. But to bounce back and win against one of the best teams, and on paper, always a team that people look at as one of the favourites to win the tournament, you have to give credit. So credit to Real Madrid for winning this one. Sorry, credit to Manchester City, Real Madrid, for winning this one. And please, before we go any further, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment, all of that good stuff. Put the notification bell on and put the notifications on all and not personalized. Otherwise, you'll miss on all of the good things and good stuff that I drop on this channel. Real Madrid started the game off really well, to be fair. Despite them losing, they started the game off better than Manchester City, I believe. I think they had the better chances. I think Man City had more possession, but we know that from Man City. Man City are used to having all of the possession, try and be patient and create the chances and be on the front foot and, just wait for the right moment to strike. But I think Real Madrid kind of, made use of the fans' energy, and they made use of the fact that this was still is such a big fixture. And they started off like a house on fire. Vinicius Jr. being brought down just outside the box, as it was later on said by the referee, or said in his earpiece by the people at VAR. Vinicius Jr. doing a bit too much, in my opinion. At first, I did think it was a penalty as well, but looking back at the replay, I did think, okay, Vinny, you were doing a bit too much there. And after that, really, Vinny, in my opinion, really had a poor game. And Real Madrid actually do go ahead, because the penalty wasn't given. Obviously, it was a free kick. Then Real Madrid, like I said, went on a counter-attack. Manchester City, of course, being caught off guard, losing the ball unnecessarily. And there were a couple of instances in the first half where Manchester City would obviously have a lot of possession, which obviously led them to but have a very, very, very high line. And I don't know why Pep will do that, because even though Kylian Mbappe wasn't playing due to injury, of course, he had a muscular injury, and as per the commentators, he had a broken finger as well, which I didn't know about. So you would have thought, even though Kylian Mbappe is not playing, you still have the likes of Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo on each wing. Gonzalo, okay, not the biggest threat. He was playing down the middle today. But you still have the likes of Vinicius Jr. and you still have the likes of Rodrigo on either wing. And these two have pace for days. So any ball in behind with them running onto it is a danger. So I don't really know why or how Manchester City managed to lose the ball unnecessarily. Jude Bellingham picks up the ball in the ball in the middle of the park, drives with it, plays it out wide to Rodrigo. Rodrigo's first touch was actually really good, sets himself up for the second touch, was the shot. Finishes it off nicely, bottom left corner, no chance for Donnarumma, and that was a really, really good goal. And from that point on, I thought, okay, Real Madrid are going to take this game on now by the scruff of the neck and try and go for the second one, try and go for the kill. But you have to say that they were kind of wasteful. And that trend carried on in the second half. But then Real Madrid did something which I think kind of determined the game. I think the two mistakes that they made gave the game away. The first mistake, Antonio Rüdiger. Listen, we all know Antonio Rüdiger likes to be the bully, in a good sense, on the pitch, of course. He likes to go toe-to-toe with strikers, or depending on the striker he's up against on the day. Likes to, play mind games, and, a bit of verbal here and there. But that was just silly. And I've got the feeling like it's not the first time he's done this season. I'll be honest and say I haven't watched a lot of Madrid this season, but before the injury, because I think he just came back from injury as well, Rüdiger is always prone to silly stuff like that, if I'm honest. So Rüdiger brings down Haaland in the box. It was a clear penalty. Referee goes to the screen, has a look at VAR, didn't even take him 10 seconds, gives the penalty, and Haaland scores. makes it 1-1. And then, sorry, that was the 2-1. Manchester City actually equalised via Nico O'Reilly, who was at fault, actually, in my opinion, for the first goal that Real Madrid scored. But he picks himself up with the equaliser. And I have to say, again, that mistake, that error, fair enough. You're going to let Gvardiol jump up in the air and get the head up, no problem. But that mistake from Thibaut Courtois, from someone who I consider one of the best goalkeepers in the world at the moment, or the best goalkeeper in the world at the moment, I would have expected a bit better. For him to make that mistake was crucial. And I think that gave the game away to Manchester City. And you know, that mistake kind of reminded me of Manuel Neuer, who made the same mistake. And then Joselu came, the rebound, and then slots it in to make it, 2-1 or 3-1 at the time when Real Madrid played against Bayern in the quarters. Was it quarter or semi-finals? I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I thought that was a very, very costly mistake. And I think you can't really look at Xabi Alonso for this loss, if I'm honest, because in the second half, I think Real Madrid did everything right, apart from putting the ball in the back of the net. You know, Xabi Alonso, in his defense, he actually made attacking changes only. I know, again, Kylian Mbappe didn't come on, he was on the bench, but I think it was the right decision for him not to come on. I think that would have been the right decision either way. You don't want somebody like Kylian Mbappe to be injured, first and foremost. It's a muscular injury. You bring him on and then you risk him being injured even more when you look further ahead and you say, you know what, you'd rather keep him on the bench and make sure that he's fit for the games to come, of course. So in Xabi Alonso's defense, he actually made attacking changes. He brought off Raul Asensio, brought on Endrick. He brought off Dani Ceballos. He brought on Brahim Diaz. He brought off Gonzalo Garcia. He brought on, Arda Güler. So he made attacking changes. He tried to win the game. On top of that, Endrick gets the chance. I think it's just tipped over the bar by Donnarumma. The chance by Real Madrid where they go on a counter-attack. Vinicius Jr. squares it with his left foot across the box to Rodrigo. Rodrigo sees in the back of his head Bellingham screaming and shouting for the ball on the right-hand side, on the overlap, receives the ball, but then he tries some outrageous chip that I just don't understand. The less said, the better. I think Bellingham today, to be fair, had a poor game. It's not in his locker to be scoring goals like that. I think if you just put your foot through it, right, it can get a wild deflection off a defender, off a goalkeeper, anyone, and it enter the back of the net, and it's 2-2. And at that point, it could have been a different game. For him to try that chip in that position was just, I don't think he thought this through completely. I really don't think he thought this through. So it's a very unnecessary loss for Real Madrid. And I looked at a stat, right, that is very, very surprising to me. And I looked at the last 8 games that Real Madrid played in all competitions. 2 wins only in the last 8 in all competitions. And those 2 wins were a 3-0 win away from home against Athletic Bilbao and a 4-3 win away from home against Olympiacos in the Champions League. So even though, like I said, you can't really put this loss on Xabi Alonso, but more so the team, at the end of the day, you're not going to sack 11 players. If, push comes to shove, if somebody has to be blamed for this, it's going to be Xabi Alonso. But that will happen only, and I mean only, if they keep on losing. I can see here they've got Deportivo Alavés in La Liga. Then they got second tier, third tier team in the Copa del Rey. Then they got Sevilla. Then they got Real Betis. Then they've got the big one, the Supercopa against Atletico Madrid in the new year. So I do believe that the Real Madrid board will allow Xabi Alonso to stay in charge of this team for a couple of games, probably up until the Supercopa. But if he doesn't put together at least 4 wins in a row, I think he's gone. I think he'll be gone by then. So it's a shame. It's a shame because those 2 mistakes, those 2 errors really cost Real Madrid the game. As for Manchester City, this is a very, very good win. They carry on their streak of winning games. I'm looking at the stat here, and I'm seeing that this is the 4th game in a row that they're winning. 3-2 win against Leeds in the Prem. 5-4 win against Fulham away in the Premier League. 3-0 win against Sunderland in the Premier League. Now a 2-1 win against Real Madrid in the Champions League. They got Palace on the weekend. So it's looking good for Manchester City. And we all know if there's one thing that Man City know how to do, is once they put together a run of games, what was it, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they win all of them, it is very, very difficult to stop them. Haaland gets on the score sheet for Manchester City today. Probably one of his most quieter games, if I'm honest, to the point where he had to be taken off and Marmoush came on. But then again, like I said, they've got games coming up thick and fast. Palace on the weekend. Then they've got Brentford in the Carabao Cup. Then they've got West Ham. So they need to try and protect players where they can. But I think in the grand scheme of things, this is a good win for Manchester City. One performance that stood out to me is Nico O'Reilly. Now, I've talked about Nico O'Reilly a number of times, and I've said that it is strange to see a player who is not a left back by trade to play in that position, because, you know, left backs tend to kind of be seen as smaller players who are a bit more agile, have a bit more of a lower center of gravity and, you know, stuff like that. But this is... O'Reilly is a bit of a different player. He's tall, he's lanky, but technically he's so good. On the ball, he's so good. Going forward, very good. Obviously, going backwards, defending-wise, he's still learning his trade, and having a manager like Pep guiding you through that, I mean, what more can you ask for as a player? You've got one of the best managers in the history of football teaching you the trade of being a left-back when you're not a defender or a left-back to begin with. You can't ask for anything better. But Nico O'Reilly, for me, was the standout player for me. I think he was really good on the ball. I think defensively, especially coming up against Rodrigo in this whole game. Then, sometimes Real Madrid switching, coming up against Vinny, coming up against Bellingham sometimes, who would drift out to the right-hand side. Coming up against all of these players, quality players, and holding your own, I think that deserves massive, massive credit. And I'm a fan of Nico O'Reilly. So that's a good win for Manchester City. And they march on. You know, in the Premier League, they're 1 point behind Arsenal. Arsenal fans, I told you, you know, they're going to breathe down your necks now. 1 point behind Arsenal. If they win against Palace and Arsenal drop points on the weekend, which I don't think they will, they'll be playing Wolves. I mean, everybody's beating Wolves nowadays. But it's still going to be very interesting in terms of the title race. But let me know what you think in the comment section, people. Like, share, comment, subscribe. It's road to 20k. We're 500 or less than 500 away from reaching that milestone. So please go ahead and do that. And yeah, I shall see you. What's happening in the world of football? Let me have a look at my schedule. Tomorrow, nothing much happening. Friday, nothing much happening. Yeah, I think I'll see you on Saturday. Saturday, we've got Chelsea Everton at 3. Got Liverpool Brighton at 3. Then we've got Arsenal Wolves at 8, and then Super Sunday, man. We're being treated. We've got 4 games at 2 p.m. Crystal Palace, Manchester City. We've got Nottingham Forest, Tottenham. We've got Sunderland, Newcastle. The first time derby in 9 years. Crazy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Then we've got West Ham, Aston Villa, all of these 4 games at 2 p.m. Then we've got Brentford, Leeds at 4:30. So we're in for a treat this weekend, man. So make sure you keep your eyes locked on my channel. And until then, people, enjoy your weekend. Well, when it comes to the weekend, enjoy the rest of your week, rather. Enjoy your weekend. And I shall see you on Saturday for more football content. Until then, people, take care. And I'll see you soon. Peace.